Mes tambours si autant de rassembler au souple, que l'entente séparée tant pris fait loin de racine.
Happy Haitian Flag Day, and welcome to No True Peace, scenes from the Before Haiti Project. I'm Zachary Baker Salmon. Haitians have a great deal to be proud of, beginning with their nation's founding in the year 1804. Haiti is well known to be the world's first independent black republic, and the establishment of that republic was the result of the only successful slave revolt in history. Today we are going even further back in time, to the colony that existed before Haiti, the colony of Saint-Domingue. Saint-Domingue was described as the pearl of the Antilles for the staggering productivity of its sugar, coffee, and indigo plantations. Exceptionally fertile soil, a varied climate which allowed for a diversity of crops, and the most brutal slave plantation system ever conceived by human beings combined to make this colony the most lucrative piece of land in the Western Hemisphere. The people who were at the top of this slave society naturally made themselves fantastically rich. So, who were they? By nationality, they were French, or at least descended from French people. In the colony, however, they were often simply referred to as whites. You see, Saint-Domingue was an incredibly racist society, and the whites, they utilized white supremacy and racism to maintain their dominance over everybody else, most especially the many, many Africans who were kidnapped and brought to Saint-Domingue to work as slaves. Wealthy whites were referred to as big whites, or grands blancs. Their less affluent counterparts who didn't own land and had to work, they were referred to as small whites, or petits blancs. The first scene in our series depicts one morning in the lives of two big whites. Etienne Louis, the Marquis de la Ferronnays, has only been married to his new wife, Marie Elizabeth, for about a month, but he's hated every single day of it. In the following scene, performed by actors Charlotte May Ellison and Joe Pfeiffer, we witness the morning of his departure.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Corbier is starting on the new rolling mill this week at long last. Aren't you excited, my dear? The delays will be worth it in the end. I know our profits will be enormous.
Did you hear me? I said I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm going to Cap Francais.
I heard you, my love. Well, that's inconvenient. Who will oversee the construction of the mill while we're away? You must delay the trip.
That's not possible. I have important business with the Vicomte de Choiseul. It's all been planned.
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of it, beloved. My handmaids will require some time to prepare me for the journey.
Oh, no. No, that won't be necessary.
It will take some time to decide which slave shall accompany me. Maya is with child again. She hasn't told me yet, but she's acting like it. You can't fool me. And Callisto ran off for the third time now, just a few days ago. She'll be back once the Maroons find her. You'll have to pay them again, no doubt. Speaking of, may I have some money?
No slaves will be coming.
Of course they will. I cannot live without my slaves. They are my children.
No slaves will be coming because you will not be coming.
Husband, you know I've always wanted to visit Cap Francais. I won't let you go without me. It's not fair.
Right. Well, I didn't know that, actually. Anyway, it's a moot point because they've had an outbreak there. It's terrible. People dying, left and right. It's unsuitable for you to go.
An outbreak? An outbreak of what?
Fever, naturally.
What fever?
You know. The fever, the remittent fever.
What does remittent mean?
It doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. People in Cap Francais are dropping dead. As your wife, I forbid you to go.
Of course, yes. Of course you would say that. No, I mean, it's nothing. I'll be fine.
You're so brave, my love. Maddeningly, outrageously brave.
I'm inoculated.
This early in the day? Oh, Doo-doo, my teddy bear, why didn't you say so? That explains all this.
Damn it, no, stop
talk.
talking. I realize the schools on this island are completely useless and backward, and they always have been. I make allowance of that for the sake of our marriage. However, I am accustomed to being understood. I do not wish to repeat myself, or clarify, or explain any further.
I'm sorry, I didn't know the meaning of the word inoculated. I'm not an idiot.
Oh, you nearly had me fooled.
No one has ever. They wouldn't.
No
dare
one has ever what?
Well, anyway, you must greet the Vicomte for me, seeing how I can't go with you on account of the outbreak of the fever, so dangerous.
Who? Oh, yes, de Choiseul. Of course. I'll greet him for you. I'm glad we could have this talk.
Oh, husband, I'm so glad we could have this little chat. So very, very glad.
Yes. That's good.
So glad. But you must understand how I fear each night you're gone. Waking, worried about you. Terrified about the fever. Terrified that it's got you.
No, there's no need.
Oh, the dreaded fever. I can see it now. Your luscious royal eyes shot red with blood, and your gentle skin jaundiced. Your sickly yellow face puffy like a cane toad. Horrific.
Marie?
Oh, how horrible it would be to hear you cough and choke. To see you retch and hurl your aristocratic guts out on the floor, writhing in agony, your aching stomach engorged with black blood, vomiting endlessly, and all alone. I don't think I'd ever get over it. I truly hate to think of it. And how common a way to die. His fever. How low.
That's enough.
Oh, I'm sorry, my love. Did I frighten you?
You're a sick woman.
I love you. My man. My French man.
I'll be happy to leave the plantation first thing tomorrow. It can't come soon enough.
My father's plantation. My plantation. Don't worry. I'll take good care of it while you're away.
The next scene in our series is inspired by a man named Julien Raymond. Born in Saint-Domingue in the mid-18th century, Julien amassed great wealth, growing, harvesting, and selling indigo, a plant used for dyeing textiles. Now, like any other indigo planter, Julien counted many human beings from Africa among his property. But what set him apart from other planters, though, was his own ancestry. As it turns out, Julien's maternal grandmother had been an African slave. Julien belonged to a class known in French Saint-Domingue as the gens de couleur, or free citizens of color. White Frenchmen in the colony referred to them disparagingly as mulattoes, and Julien was technically regarded as a quadroon, which meant that he had 3/4 European ancestry and 1/4 African ancestry. None of this meant a whole lot to Julien until around the year 1763, the end of the 7 Years' War. France lost that war. It was a complete disaster, and in the wake of that defeat and the uncertainty that it bred among the administrative and social elite of the colony, a wave of political reaction based in white purity and mixed-race degeneracy swept into Saint-Domingue, and it persisted. In 1784, Julien sailed for France, determined to thwart the whites in their assault on his liberty as a free man of color. Now, let's watch actor Jared Webb perform a monologue inspired by Julien on a cold night in Paris in 1784.
Let's make one thing clear. The whites, they get away with absolute murder. No compunction, not the slightest hint of scruple. They will swipe the wig off your head, the jewels from your fingers. Then, they'll call a constable on you for having worn your own wig and your own jewels in public. They shouldn't be able to do that, but they do. And it's only gotten worse since they brought back the colonial militia. I've never served, of course, but my cousins, outstanding mulatto recruits, all of them, stripped of their commission, demoted in rank, serving under some small white boy tyrant out of Jeremy or some other place. You get the idea. An indecorous compensation for their unflinching service to the French crown. Beyond insult. Now, it's not always been this way in Saint-Domingue. Of course, the whites at every corner have tried to claim superiority, there's no arguing that. But at one point, a white would have agreed to be a witness to my child's baptism. They might have agreed to sell you a piece of land they didn't want or need or couldn't afford. But nowadays, we citizens of color live under a near constant menace. The whites of Saint-Domingue are fuming mad. In some ways, I pity them. French women sailed across oceans hoping to marry rich colonists. Upon landing, they quickly realized the men they so desperately sought would much rather marry a nice mulatto with a considerable dowry. It's quite sad, really. The men wouldn't even look at them. Now I ask you, what are we supposed to do about that, even? The white men are marrying our women, for God's sake. That doesn't seem like a problem we should be tasked with fixing. The plain truth is, we have money, and they hate us for it. They didn't account for our race being so successful. They didn't account for us at all, if you really think about it. Yet here we are, and they can't get rid of us. We nearly outnumber them. We will soon, anyway. That's what they're so afraid of, I think. Among the most successful planters there is, thank heaven, some mutual respect and understanding, though I fear it won't be enough to prevent a conflict, unless something really drastic is done. For jealousy knows no bounds and cuts its own throat. We are players in a game, Vincent. The rules have never been particularly fair, but you and I are clever. Our fathers were clever too. Any rule there is to know, we know it, we play by it. If the game were truly fair, we would already be the lords of Saint-Domingue. Tomorrow we might be the lords of France. The whites don't want to work together, that's clear. No matter. There is a strategy for any move an opponent makes. Every question has an answer. The only question I cannot yet answer is this. What if our opponent would sooner destroy the game than let us win?
Of course, the conflict that Julian wishes to avoid will come. And that conflict between the whites and the gens de couleur will provide just enough space for the 500,000 enslaved souls on the island to make their move. Of the millions of Africans brought to Saint-Domingue as slaves and their enslaved descendants, only a tiny fraction ever managed to escape slavery. These individuals were a part of the gens de couleur class, but since they were not born free, they were referred to as affranchis, or freedmen. One such person is represented by the character Geneviève, portrayed by the actor Valérie Papillon in the next scene. 1792 was a tumultuous year in the French Revolution and in the Haitian Revolution. Chiefly for Geneviève, though, a full-blown civil war had broken out between the whites and the gens de couleur in the province where she lives and works. Seeing an opportunity to make some powerful new allies, Geneviève accepts a rather dangerous mission from a man named Pierre Pinchinat in exchange for something that every former slave desires, a house of her own and some land. Upon completion of the mission, Pierre Pinchinat attempts to renege on the deal. Since he's the leader of the Mulatto Confederacy, he assumes that she'll simply cower before him and his many armed troops. Geneviève does not do that. She grabs him by the throat, puts a knife to it, and then all of his officers turn around and aim their guns directly at her. Let's take a look.
Gentlemen, I realize this looks bad. It is not my intention to harm your leader. I understand if you don't believe me. You're scared, you're confused. Let me explain. I just want my house. A house built of square timber and mahogany shingles. I want it. He promised to get it for me, and then, surprise, surprise, he tried to go back on that promise. I cannot allow that. A deal is a deal. You've all got some guns. I have seen them before. You don't know this, but I was born here near Croix des Bouquets. I was brought up here. I started out weeding the cane fields, and then I fed the pigs. I did that so well, I was put in charge of slaughtering them. That was long ago, but I haven't forgotten how to do it, just as I haven't forgotten these guns. Anyone who knows these guns knows they shoot cockeyed even at this range. If you all fire on me, you will kill Monsieur Pinchena here. There is no question. You might kill me too, but you will definitely kill him. And even if you do somehow manage to shoot only me, a little defenseless woman, he will still die. There are some very important veins here in Pierre's neck. These ones here, they can't be uncut if you know what I mean. You won't kill me fast enough to stop that from happening. I understand you're confused, you don't know what to do. Remember, all I want is a house, a little piece of paper that reads, "One house for Miss Geneviève, signed, notarized. I suggest you see that I get it." What will you do if he dies? Commissioners are here from France and they want to talk to him very badly. The British are poised to invade. In case you forgot, the whites still control our capital city. The northern plains have been set ablaze by slave rebels. You mulattoes are waist deep in the shit. You need your man here. Now, one house with mahogany shingles will be plenty for me, far away from the action. Not even all that particular about the shingles. You Confederates can have all the glory. I don't want it. Now, don't be too long in deciding. I've been very reasonable. Do you think I won't do it? Your reprobate leader will choke on his own blood due to your inaction. It's the least he deserves for trying to cheat me. Do you think I'm afraid to die? Gentlemen, I was born a slave in Saint-Domingue. I am tempered in hellfire. My father is Satan himself. I shouldn't even be alive right now. Your quivering muskets don't scare me. You're nothing but a pack of belligerent planters and careerist militiamen. I want my house. I want it now. Give me my fucking house.
Geneviève wasn't alone on her dangerous mission. In fact, she was serving as a guide and a protector. Her client, a French priest known as the Abbé Ouvier, sought to establish a peace treaty with a warlord by the name of Roman Riviere. Roman claimed to be the godson of the Virgin Mary, with the miraculous ability of direct communication with the Virgin herself. Mary often commanded him to kill and terrorize whites in the town below the mountain range where he lived, and so he attracted thousands of followers. Picture this. As Geneviève and the Abbé Ouvier approach the entrance to Roman's mountain encampment, Geneviève is taken aback at the sight of a severed human head impaled on a spike at the gate. Disgusted and a little bit frightened, she turns to the Abbé and asks, "What kind of a monster's den have you led us into?" Let's watch actor Thomas Wynne deliver the Abbé's reply in the fourth and final scene in our series.
A monster, you say? Interesting. Though the question you asked, Madame Geneviève, is a fair one. You find this image disturbing, it is. And disheartening, too. Poor wretch, this one. What were his last moments like, do you think? What were his plans for himself? Surely not this grisly outcome. Alas. The person or persons who did this. I mean, who, indeed, is capable of such ferocity, such barbarity? The gruesome display is an affront to God who made man in his image. I ask you, at what point do one's actions render a man no longer a man, but rather a pitiless creature. Madame Janvier, would you please take a little closer look at the wretch? What do you see? His hair, what is it like? What of his skin? It's rather beautiful, I should say, at least from where I'm standing. How old do you think he was? Surely no younger than 40, you can tell that from the lines in the eyes. But how supple his skin is still, and so pale. Look inside his mouth, and I expect you'll find all or nearly all of his teeth still intact, right where God intended them to be. What kind of a man was this, then? You know the answer. A rich man. A planter. Big white. Now, the man that we're here to meet, he claims that he is the godson of the Holy Virgin Mary, Mother of our Lord Jesus Christ. He's just beyond that gate, and he has many followers. Honestly, I cannot say whether or not, for certainty, he is what he says he is. It is my assignment to find out. However, if he is the godson of the Virgin, then I can only assume that the Virgin meant for this planter's head to be placed at this gate, and for us to find it. There would be no arguing that. If the Virgin wished it so, that's all I need. There's no further justification required. Nevertheless, for I suspect you are in need of some convincing, let us consider why. Why this man's neck was cut so, and his head placed thus. Well, all planters own slaves. That's to be expected. There's nothing remarkable about that. And the followers of the man we've come to meet, they were all slaves themselves at one time. So why this planter? What makes him so special? Was he a kind master or a brute? You know what I'm asking. Did he whip the slaves himself, take some pleasure in that power, or did he leave it to his drivers? Somebody was whipping somebody. Saint-Domingue depends upon it. Perhaps he cut off men's ears as punishment for running away or stealing. And what of the women? How many of them did he rape? How many children did he force into bondage, knowing them to be his own sons and his own daughters? The man we've come to meet is a warlord, yes. A killer, perhaps. But the monster, he stands before you now.
The French colony of Saint-Domingue ceased to exist on January 1st, 1804, when General Jean-Jacques Dessalines, who only a few years earlier had been working the cane fields as a slave himself, declared independence from France and the establishment of a new nation, Haiti. Thank you for joining us this Haitian Flag Day as we honor Haiti's future by remembering its past.
Mes tambours sur tendez rassemblés au souple, que l'on tente séparer, tant pris fait joindre racine.